Perfect. Welcome everyone. We are here. My name is Gabby Martinez, and I'm going to be teaching you how to fill out the commission intake form with LPT. Right now, I hope you're you're able to see my LPT dot loop on your screen. If you can see it, just post on the chat, yes, 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 yes. So at least I know that you're seeing it. Perfect. I see. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I love it. Very good. So the first thing you're going to see when you work on your dot loop, you have to understand two things. You are giving two profiles with dot loop. One is your name, LPT Realty, and then there's going to be another one with your name that has the word extreme under. The reason behind that is because whenever you have a dot loop account, you can do, let's say you will not be part of Extreme. Let's say you work in a different company. You have your own transactions and you have your transactions that are under a team. So you can have a separation of transactions, right? In this case, because you are a member of our team, all of your transactions need to be created under your extreme profile, not under this one. So let's say, for example, I have a transaction, and I right now I'm in my LPT profile, the first one. If I create a transaction from here, LPT compliance are not going to be able to see anything. And me, I'm not going to be able to see anything nor help you with whatever you need. So I have to create my transactions as an extreme agent under the extreme profile, or some people may have it as a default profile. So that's something that you have to look into it. Now, because I am your team leader together with Tony, I'm able to see all of your transactions. I'm able to see everybody's transaction. So in the past, let's say, for example, you say, Gabby, I need help. I create an addendum, I create a document or something. You will have to go into for simplicity, download the document, email that to me, and I will have to go see it, and I will have to make the corrections and send back to you. Nowadays, you can basically send me a message, a WhatsApp message. I love WhatsApp. I'm always in WhatsApp. I have my WhatsApp from my computer. And say, Gabby, can you please log into this property transaction and take a look at the addendum? Let me know if the wording is okay. I can now go into, if you create the transaction under the extreme profile only, and see to your document and make any changes if needed right away. See, that's great, right? Because it saves you a lot of times. And we don't have to go back and forth with sending documents and uploading and changing and everything. That is basically one of the things that I can help you with. And anything, I always tell, like, there was one of our agents that she was out of the country. She didn't take her computer, and she sent me a message and say, Gabby, please help me. I need to create an addendum. I'm not in front of my computer. Can you please tell? I log into her computer into her transaction. I created the addendum for her and I sent it to her clients because she had already her customers' information. So I just wanted to give you this, history a little bit, so you have an idea for the ones that I'm not 100% familiar with dot loop. So now, let's say you have your loop created. In dot loop, we don't call them transactions. We call them loops. So let's say you have your loop created. We're going to go to one of mine that it's right there and it's created. Remember, this class is not about how to use dot loop. I already created one in English and Spanish that's also on my YouTube channel. But this is to create the commission intake. So this is one of my transactions. Now, these are all my documents, right? You have the folder there. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click here where it says add document. Don't click on add folder because you don't wanna have another folder inside your loop. Always add a document. So once you click and add a document, you're just gonna go to templates. Browse is whenever you have something on your computer that you wanna upload, right? And this, I don't even know what is this. And so don't worry about it. So go into templates. Templates are places where I have previously added documents that I know you guys are going to need. So like, for example, if you're working in a rental, I have added forms that are unique that we created, our team created for you to use. Newer title, listing documents, commercial forms, etc. I even created the other day another template, which is called buyer broker agreement and other forms. For you guys to have access to all the agreements that the Florida realtors put in place whenever you're showing property. And then you got in, you say you get into working with a buyer. It's right there. So that way you don't have to look around. It's right there. So going back to what we're doing, you're gonna go to the commission forms. There's a template called commission forms. You're gonna click on the commission form and it's going to be right here. It's LPT, commission intake, split check. Now, always look at the dates. This is the most recent one. If by, in 3 months from now, 4 months from now, you see it at a different date, let's say October 2025, whatever, then you know that that's the most recent one. Now, for rentals, there's a different one. So it's the same, but a little different. So when you do it, is click in there and then hit copy. That's going to import that form into your loop. Okay, so now we have the commission intake form in there. Now, here's the thing. I created this loop just differently. I'm going to teach you something later. I'm going to teach you something that I did on the other class. Because normally, whenever you have a loop, if you create the loop properly, and while you are creating it, and you tell the loop that the type of loop you're creating, the system will put this form automatically in your loop, so you don't have to do the step that I just did. In this case, I did it because I wanted to teach you an additional way to do it. But normally you don't have to. If you create your loop properly, there's a time when you're creating your loop that the system asks you, what type of loop is this? So if you said, this is a lease purchase, or if this is a purchase, or this is a, selling, the system will automatically put these forms and the LPT mandatory forms. But let's go now to our commission intake. So you're gonna click on the commission intake. And this is what you're going to see. Now, all these places are for you to start filling it out. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to put things everywhere, because if it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. So let's say with execution day. Execution day is the day that you went under contract. So if you were under contract of that property on December 23rd, then December 23rd is going to be there. Date submitted. Date submitted is more when you are like, let's say 10 days before your closing day, and you want LPT to review your documents. Now, let me pause a little bit. I don't review your documents for compliance purposes. LPT does. So if you are creating a new loop and you created a contract, if you want me to review it, then you let me know and you submit it and I can see it. But for compliance purposes, you only submit it one time, at least 10 days before your closing day, if you want to be paid at closing. You need to basically let LPT know that you're closing. You want them, because that's what they do. They're going to go over all your documents and verify that you don't have a missing signature, a missing initial, you're missing you have an addendum that's not signed, things like that. So that is why you want to do that in advance and not a day before the closing or the day of the closing, because that's going to delay your payment. Make sense? Okay, we're good so far? Renee's good so far, I think. Good. So that's the day submitted. 10 days before your closing day is going to be your day you're submitting to LPT. So let's say your closing is on the 31st. Okay, and you're submitting today, right? You want LPT to check all your documents. So you're going to put today's date. Closing date. Well, your closing day is on the 31st. Good. Sell price. Okay, let's say the sell price is 500,000. Commission. Okay, let's say it is 3%. If it is not 3% because it's 2.15 something, okay, you can put the amount. Please don't forget the commas. Okay, put your name always. Is there 2 agents? Then 2 agents. Please don't put my name or Tony's name on agent 2 or agent 3. We're not part of the transaction. We're your team leaders. So it's going to be only your name, unless you're working this transaction with another person. Well, that's different. Then you're going to put the second agent involved in the transaction right here where it says agent number 2. MLS fee, don't worry about that. Most of the times, we don't use that, but in some markets, they do. And this form is being used all over, where LPT has offices. Type of sale, well, this will be, is this a purchase? Is this a listing? What is it? You can put purchase. Lead source, what type of lead source is this? Personal. This is important because sometimes, for example, you might have received a lead from a company that refers you leads, right? Like Redfin. We have several agents in Extreme that are working with these companies that refer you leads, and then LPT has to pay them 25%, 30%. So it's important that you put that information here. Let's say it's Redfin, right? Well, then you put Redfin. But if this is your lead, then it's personal. Okay. And this section right here, you're going to see, Gabby and agent 2 could be the buyer agent or the seller agent. No, it's only your information, Lourdes. I'm gonna teach you something else soon. This portion right here, in all of the commission intakes, you're always going to have instructions about getting checks. And also you're gonna have the 2 bank accounts LPT has. So let's say, for example, you didn't do the 10 days in advance and you are doing this commission intake today and your closing day was yesterday or is today, right? What's going to happen is, since you didn't do this 10 days before, LPT didn't have the chance to review your documentation. Therefore, they were not able to issue a disbursement authorization, which stands for actually DA, that stands for disbursement authorization, and send it to the title company to entrust it how does that? And instruct the title company to pay you at closing, right? So what's going to happen is the title company is going to give you a check. What are you going to do with that check? Well, here are your instructions of what you have to do with that check. And they're always going to be in the commission intakes. So basically, it's better for you to, if you attend the closing, they're going to give the check to you. So what you can do is go to any of, whatever bank you have closed, Chase or Truist, and follow the steps that are here. It says, make a copy of the check, make a copy of the deposit the check on any of these accounts, and submit a ticket and connect and submit a photo of the receipt and photo of the check. Why? Because that way you are alerting LPT that you deposited the money. They receive so many deposits. And this was same as when we were Extreme. I always ask you to a copy of the deposit, a copy of photo of the check, because that's our easy way to track funds since we're getting, many other people depositing money. So that is important. You can also upload that on the loop. You can upload the copy of the receipt and the check and send me a quick message so I can go ahead and let LPT know that you guys did it. So it's even like faster, So we want you get your money faster. This is why they're doing they have all these rules implemented. Now, let's say you don't attend the closing. If you don't attend the closing, what's going to happen is the title company is going to mail the check to LPT. And then that's going to take a little longer because, of course, they're mailing the check and LPT has to receive it and then they have to process. But they will not be able to process or identify the money is yours if you don't have this thing filled out. That's why it's so important to create these documents on time. Now, these two portions right here, low GCI opt-in. Low GCI opt-in stands for low gross commission income, meaning that if you have a commission check that it's less than $2,500, the transaction of $195 is waived, and LPT takes only 20%, like for rentals, most likely, right? So you always want to have this and put yes. For rentals, you always want to do this. And if let's say you're selling a vacant lot for $10,000, you don't want to pay this fee or anything. So just hit yes. Is a property listed on the MLS? Yes. Now, if it's this like a regular commission, $10,000, $15,000, then you leave this blank. And you don't mark it, you can mark it no. Okay. So let's say this is a no because it's a $10,000 check. So it's not a low gross commission income. Property address, always put your property address. If this property has a unit number, always put the unit number. Okay. Station. Okay. You can put, it doesn't matter if you're representing seller or you're representing buyer. You always want to have this information, filled out. Now, who are you representing? Are you representing buyer, seller, or both sides? Okay, let's say you're representing both sides. Lucky you. It says, per sales disclosure, client is charged. This is where our 595 goes. It's for 595. After 13 years, we raise our transaction fee. Everything has been raised. Our rent, our electricity, our everything. So after 20 years, I think it's okay. We raise our transaction fee. So you put your 595 here. Okay. If you're working with a rental, you put your 150 here. Okay. So because this is a transaction, purchase is 595. Okay, here, if you're representing both sides, then you put here, whatever you're charging, like that. Okay. Now, realtor credit amount, I personally don't use it because I will explain why. Hold on, I think I have a question for you. Correct. Yes, that's correct, Mr. Martinez. Okay. So now this portion right here is crucial. Title company information. You have to put this information because if not, the DA, the disbursement authorization, cannot be sent by LPT. So this form is going to be basically useless. So let's say it's new word title of Florida. You put that information in there. Our address, okay, 84, baby. If you don't put the what's the name? The zip code, it's okay. And then you need to put the email. That you need to put very, very well. I can recall her email. So don't take me for that this is the email, but be sure to put the email. And if you have the phone number, put the phone number. But most important part will be the email because the DA goes by email. Opposite agent info, yes, if there's another person working in this transaction that it's a different company, yes, you put that information in there, especially if the other LPT is paying the other agent. But regardless, LPT wants that information in there just for compliance purposes. So you just put the name of the other agent there, and then the information that whatever you have. So transaction coordinator, if applicable. Now, as you know, if you work with newer title, you have a transaction coordinator that it's totally complementary to you guys. So the good thing is Michelle Martinez and her team, they're very familiar with the loop. So at the beginning of the transaction, they are going to request you to add them to the loop so they can manage the loop for you and start making recommendations of the documents that you need to have ready. Okay, so it's very wonderful. I would totally recommend to work with them. They're amazing. But let's say you don't have a transaction coordinator. So you just put NA. Okay. Now, this portion is always going to be the same and it doesn't change. And what you're going to do is this. Okay. Here, you're going to put the split that you have with the company. Let's say your split is 10%, you put 10%. If your split is 20%, you put 20%. And any fees, don't put anything. Call agent name is not me, it's not Tony, it's not you. It's nobody, okay? So nothing else goes in here. Now, the form with LPT comes with all the signatures, right? So what I normally do is I try to clean these forms. I click where it says sign here, and then I go to this little X, and I remove it because it drives me crazy. Okay, but again, like I was saying, this form is being used by many people and other areas that they may have more people. And I remove this one too. I go over with my mouse and go up and remove it. And I just leave one. And then I sign as Tony and Gabby. But that's me, not you guys. Okay. Referral info. If there anything that needs to be paid, it goes here. So like, remember when I was mentioning this portion over here that let's say you need to pay Redfin because Redfin sent you this lead and you owe them 25%. Okay, you can put that information in there. Company name, amount, and everything. Company address. That's all important. Now, if the agent is not a Redfin, but it's an agent from any other real estate company, that information goes in here. Okay. Everything has to be filled out. LPT agent info. This is only to be used if a referral is paid to an LPT agent. Please don't put your name here. I see you guys put your information, your name, everything here. No, no, no. This is for if, let's say, Renee is working a transaction with Lourdes, and she's going to pay a fee to Lourdes, then Lourdes' name goes here and the percentage of the amount, okay? And this form will need to be signed by Lourdes because she's the person receiving it. So she will need to be giving access to approve that that's in fact the amount that she needs to receive. Are we good so far? Any questions so far? Wow, we had 30 people on the call. I'm impressed. Very good. Now, if there's no LPT agent info, I always like to go here and click it, go up, 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 out, and remove it because it bothers me to see that orange banner there because you know what? Everybody gets confused and everybody starts signing everywhere. I have seen people signing here and here and here. You only sign right there, here, agent signature. That's the only place that you're going to sign. Now, 100 times I had to repeat it. Never sign until I fill this portion. See, this portion is huge because this is where I basically enter my numbers. Any credits, anything, I do it. You can enter, whatever you instructions wants to give me, but I have to, after that, I have to enter my own instructions for this, right? And after I do that, I go up and then I sign this. And most of the times what I do is like this because, we want transparency. And because Tony Martinez had authorized me, he needs to authorize me everything. So I just go like this, right? And then I will send the form to you, or I will send you a message and say, hey, I already entered my numbers into the additional notes. Now you can sign. Because if you guys fill this out completely, the form, right? You have it ready. And then you go and sign it. Then when I'm going to enter my number, my credits, whatever, it's going to invalidate your signature immediately. See, that is a safety feature that the dog loop has, that whenever you have created something, if somebody goes in and try to make a change without your knowledge, it will invalidate your signature. And I believe that's an amazing feature because it's to protect you and to protect any client. Let's say you're working in a transaction and you have an addendum that's already signed and somebody wants to change the wording, the signatures will go away. So again, team name, Extreme. Team lead name, Tony and Gabby Martinez. Your split, nothing else. I go enter my credits, your credits, whatever it says, instructions for LPT. I sign and I alert you guys to sign. So if you see that these additional notes are blanked and there's nothing there, please do not sign it. Do not sign it. Because I will have to go in there, enter my information, and you will have to go back and sign again. What is when you say your numbers? That is like, we have instructions to LPT. So it's just credits that we are providing right now for certain transactions and, like your tap and stuff. But that's a different class and I don't want to confuse people right now. But I had to enter information here. So it's nothing that it will affect you guys. Actually, it's a benefit. Okay, here says, so we're using the LPT agent. So if we're working with another agent in the same transaction, that is correct. Yes, that is correct, Rosalia. Because you need to let LPT know who else is involved so they can also get paid the commission, not just you. So that's why if this is an LPT agent, that information goes here. Okay, because it's a referral, like not like if you're a co-agent. Okay, so let me explain that part. I think I understand your question. There's two different things. You can be a co-agent or you can refer someone, okay? So let's say, for example, you and Pedro, I'm working together in a transaction, right? Both of you are co-agents, meaning both of you are doing everything equally. And that commission is going to be split at 50-50. Then your name is going to go into agent number 1 and Pedro is going to go into agent number 2. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, an agent from LPT Sebring send you a client and say, hey, Rosalia, I have this buyer. She wants to buy a house, but I really don't want to work with her, or I can work with her. I'm going to be traveling. So I'm going to be sending you a referral form where you're going to be handling everything. But because I send you that client, you're going to be paying me a referral fee. It could be 25%, 30%, whatever you guys agree at closing. Okay. That person is referring you business. He's not going to be, this agent is not going to be involved in anything with the transaction. You're going to be handling everything. But because she gave you that client, that she's referring you that client, she's going to pay at closing. Once you get your commission, LPT is going to pay the 25% or the 30%. And that information needs to go in here where it says referral info. Or you can add it if the agent is an LPT agent, then the information for the LPT agent goes in the section that says LPT agent info and the referral amount, and he needs to sign. But if it is an agent from a different real estate company, has nothing to do with LPT Realty, then it goes here. Okay. We'll say, I don't know, John Smith, company name, whatever, Realty. Okay, that one goes there. Okay, so basically, let's say I already enter. That was your question, right? I think that was your question. Okay, Anna, I see if our buyer is buying from new constructions. Yes, Anna, yes. And thank you for asking that. That's a great question. No problem, Rosalia. So yes, so what happened is that's even better because you know what? When you purchase a new construction, most of the times you really don't know when you're going to close or when your client is going to close. And you may not know, but they close, right? And they send the check to LPT and LPT receives your check and they go into the loop and there's no instructions. So yes, the answer is yes. You always need to fill this form because this is one of the mandatory forms for LPT. LPT has 4 forms that need to be filled out. And this is one of the 4 forms. So basically, that's all that it's relevant to this form. Once it's signed, let's say you're signed, always hit save. If you don't hit save and you go back, there's a message that's going to come out and said, do you want to save it? So please save it. And then you can go back. Let me see questions, no problem. Now, let's say, for example, you have your commission intake form here, right? But like I'm missing, who can tell me? Let me see if you know, guys. What am I missing in this transaction? Who can say? So I can drink my coffee. Do you think I'm missing some other mandatory documents for LPT? I'm telling you already. So you guys should know. Flow disclosure. Okay, that's a good one, but that is not like a mandatory LPT document. That is mandatory Florida realtors. But yeah, that's also good. Latoya, that's good. Florida sales agreement. Buyer agreement. Yeah, that is a Florida realtors form. So yeah, all of those are good. But what we're missing here are the mandatory forms for LPT. And I left them out because I wanted to just give you a quick reminder, okay? You go again into add document, templates, and there's a specific tab or template that it's called compliance folder. So you're gonna click on compliance folder. Oops, sorry, no, it's not that one. I think it's the mandatory forms. Let me see. Am I blind not seeing them? Anybody see them? Let me see. Stream mandatory. Okay, here, LPT disclosures. Yeah, disclosures. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in and change, because I can change all these, and that's how I've been doing lately. I'm gonna change here, I'm gonna put mandatory, okay? Somebody went in here and changed something, because this was not like this. So LPT, LPT required docs. Okay, yeah. So let me see, rental. Okay, so I'm gonna put here. I'm gonna fix this. But here is LPT required docs. So LPT has 3 documents plus the commission intake, which is 4. You're seeing a lot of forms there, and it's not like you need to, take them all at once. It's depending whoever you're representing, right? Because buyers and sellers, they need to fill those forms, and they're very, very easy. Let me see here, sales agreement. Very good. Thank you, Art. Thank you. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're working with a buyer, okay? You're gonna select, if you go over here, see, over the title, you can see the form. So there's specifically 3 and plus the commission intake. The commission intake is not signed by your clients. But whenever you're sending an offer for your buyer to sign or a listing agreement, your customers need to fill this out. So in this case, I'm representing a seller, right? So I'm going to send them the affiliated business. I'm going to send them the, hold on, let me scroll down. There's a commission intake. It's for landlords, for sellers. Okay, let me see. Wire fraud. Okay, and the other one is the self-disclosure that I can find. I don't know why. Okay, my download is not cooperating today, but I don't see my, oh, it's either me or what? But it's the self-disclosure. It's not this, it's the self-disclosure. So it's the self-disclosure copy. Okay, and let me see, templates. Let's see. I added to also here, so you can find it in self-disclosure. Okay, I'm gonna fix this. Now, these are the 3 mandatory forms for LPT, plus the LPT commission intake. But only these 3 your client needs to sign. And I'm gonna give you a brief description of these forms. They're super easy, guys, please. Don't freak out. They're so easy. Florida sales disclosure. You open, out of fail, yes. You put the name of whoever you're representing. In this form, you're basically not doing anything but disclosing to that you are charging your client the $595. That's all. That's all you need to fill out here. That's it. It's basically disclosing fees, potential fees, and things that your client needs to know. Either if you're working with a seller or with a buyer, you just fill this bar right here, that portion right there, and send it to your client for signatures, whoever you're representing, okay? Never forget clicking the save button, okay? Yes, I'm saving. So the second form will be the wire fraud, and that it will be just basically telling your clients to be careful because there's a lot of scam out there. Okay, here you want to put whoever you're representing. And it's basically, again, something to tell your clients that you are telling them, do not share email passwords, don't wire instructions, don't wire things that they're not supposed to. You are protecting yourself. Nothing to fill out there, just send it to your clients for signature. Okay. And the third one, it will be the affiliated business arrangement. Again, nothing to fill out in there. Just basically, you're telling them that LPT owns these companies right here. That's the law. Even though your clients are not using those companies, a transparency, it's needed in real estate. So just telling them, hey, just in case LPT owns this company. That's it. You don't need to fill anything out. So that is how you explain your clients those 3 forms. And for every single offer or transaction, if you're working with seller, with landlord, with tenant, with buyer, they have their own form. I'm going to fix that and make it easier for you to find the forms once we are done with the class. Let me see, I have a question here. What if you're waiving the charge for the seller and the buyer? Okay, Juliana, good question. That is one of the things that you will need to go into the commission intake. And you will add it here. You say the fee has been waived. And based on that, I will add my information as well. All of those special notes, you want them, put them here for me because I'm going to be able to see them. Just please don't sign. Don't sign here. So basically, that is when you're sending an offer, you send the offer and you click all these documents, or if you're having a listing agreement, you select the correct ones and then you send your listing agreement, let's say, for example, together with this. Oh, good. Now what Zach said, now there's a mandatory form since August of last year that needs to be added to whenever you're working either with buyers or sellers, is the flood disclosure. Thank you for reminding me, Zach, about that. Flood disclosure, it's a form that it was requested by the Florida realtors. So after there were so many floods in Florida, every single seller needs to sign this. So if you're sending an offer, you're representing the buyer, you need to add this form. If you're representing a seller, your client needs to sign this form. It's totally mandatory. And again, this is not LPT. This is Florida Realtors. Okay, because I heard many times people saying, oh, because LPT is asking so many forms. It's not really LPT. It's the Florida Realtors that are making mandatory. So if you're working with a seller, if you're taking a listing, you need to bring this form with you, and you need to tell your seller if they have filed a claim with insurance before, and if they have received flood assistance. If they did not, then has not. If they did, then has, right? And this form, if you're working with a seller, it needs to be sent to the other agent, and you need to put here the date that you email that to the other agent, meaning a copy provided to buyer. If you're working with a buyer and you're sending an offer, you need to send this form to the listing agent. You will be surprised how many listing agents, once we send this form, they had no idea what we're talking about. But please, you need to use this form if you're working with sellers and buyers. It's mandatory. I see questions. Yes, Carmelo, also to condos. Yes, Tony, yeah, we can put 00. That's a good catching. Thank you. Yes, it applies to every single property. It doesn't make any difference if it is, it's basically Florida homeowners. Because yeah, a condo can have a flood and they fix it. So yeah. So that's a mandatory form. Now, any questions? We're gonna open now for questions. Is there anything that you guys need me to go over it up again? But that's how you fill the commission intake. Oh, another thing. So let's say you already have all your folder, right? Your folder ready for compliance. You're gonna go up here, click here, which is going to pre-select everything, and then go up. See on the right button says submit for review. You're going to click submit for review. And then you're going to click this, all the boxes that you have there. And then you're going to submit to LPT. Okay, LPT, submit to LPT. No, so don't submit to extreme, because I don't review your forms for compliance. I just review documents that if you need help, like, you know, like if you want me to check your offer, like if you want me to, you know, help you with an addendum or to review a listing agreement, you know, things like that. But the submit for review is with LPT, because those are the ones that will go over every single document that you have in there, and they will review very carefully every single paperwork that you have in there and tell you what's missing or what's wrong. And you will be surprised the amount of documents that are being uploaded every day incomplete. You know, addendums with no selections, you know, and they do that for you, you know. That if you do it 10 days before the closing, it's better because they will do that for you. It's another benefit added that they do that for you. They check every single document. They tell you what's missing. And if you're working with a transaction coordinator, she also will tell you. So my job here is done. Do we have any questions? Please don't be shy. I'm totally okay. You know, I love to do this. So anybody? I see 29 people in this class. Uy, where do I go? What happened here? Anybody? Eva posted one. Okay. Yeah, please unmute yourselves. Don't be shy. Questions. And if you have any other question that's real estate related, it's totally okay. I'm just gonna stop the recording right now.
Gabby, you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, my question, I just want to clarify. All this last document that you mentioned is for rentals also. They have to be filled out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they have their own forms that says like if you are in the loop and you go here in templates. So templates, look at template at your library. Okay. If you use for simplicity or used to use for simplicity, the template section is your library.
Okay.
So basically, see, for example, the other day I created this one, right? That's called buyer broker agreement. So I uploaded all the mandatory forms by Florida Realtors that you need to use before showing property. You can't show property without any of these documents. It's illegal.
Just the rentals as well?
Tony Martinez, you want to answer that question? If they apply to rentals?
Well, rentals have their own mandatory forms. For example, there is no owner. There's no, since it's not a purchase, they don't have to fill out whether it was a flood or not. The flood thing is not in a rental scenario, right? So we just have to look and see which forms apply to home owners as part of their disclosures. And that, for example, is one that doesn't apply because they're renting, they're not purchasing that property.
What about for commissions, like showings?
Well, okay, so the question about showings has been around for a long time. So here's the thing. Technically speaking, according to the MLS, the NAR requirements do not apply to rentals. Now, agents have been doing it as kind of like an extra layer of protection. But even, for example, the commission, the compensation, you still have to get a compensation agreement from the other side on a rental because compensation isn't being disclosed in the MLS. So you need to have something. But if I were you, I would do the pre-touring, the simplest one on rentals when you're representing the tenant. And this way you're covered. Okay. And always, this is the other issue that Gabi's been finding too, is whatever they sign, your buyer, whatever they sign or agree to, as far as compensation, needs to match up with the compensation agreement that's being provided by the seller. This is something that we're having a problem with. Let's say you get your buyer to okay 2.5% as a hypothetical. And then you find out that the seller's willing to pay 3%. So the compensation agreement will go ahead and say 3%. Guess what? You're not going to get paid until the buyer side matches the seller side. So what do you think is better? For you to go ahead and get the buyer to go ahead and initial an addendum, raising it to 3% before closing? Or do you think after the closing and the buyer is on their merry way, you find out that you needed to get that done and they're too busy to sign that for you? Or they don't want to sign it because it says, why should I sign anything else? I'm done. You can't get paid. So make sure that one is always matching the other. That is one of the most critical things that you need to do, and you need to do it before closing. Does that make sense?
I have a question. Do you think it's better just to always put 3 to be on the safe side and then change it to 2.5 if needed?
Well, I think that forget about the specific number. It is always easier to go down than it is to go up. Now, so the problem then is keep in mind that the buyer is agreeing to pay that amount in the event that you can't get anything from the seller. So if I'm the buyer, it's going to be a lot easier for me to sign to 2.5 than it is to 3.
Mm.
But see, here's my feeling, right? Let's say, for example, you get the buyer to sign to 2.5. You find out that you're getting 3. It's all about presentation. If I go to them and say, look, I need a favor, I'm actually going to make more on this transaction. Will you please sign this addendum? A smart buyer or a crafty buyer can say, hold on a second. So you're saying you're making more on this deal? How much more are you making on this deal? Well, how's about you and I split that deal? Right. So what about this approach instead? Remember, hey, buyer, remember earlier when we first met and you signed the agreement that if I couldn't get paid, you'd be willing to pay me up to 2.5%? Yeah. Remember I told you not to worry about that because I typically get that paid? Yeah. Well, I did it. I got the buyer, I got the seller to go ahead and pay. Now the amount's slightly different. So for compliance purposes, I need you to initial the fact that you are aware that that is the amount that's being paid. So it needs to be represented. So I already created that little addendum here. I just need you to initial here so we can keep moving forward. Cool. Any questions? Good. We're done. So don't make it like you're asking them a favor or you're pleading with them. And that's exactly what you're going to be doing if you do this after the closing. You are begging and pleading for them to sign something so that you can get paid. That puts you at a major disadvantage.
That is why I emphasize that everything has to be 10 days before the closing that you submit for review. So, LPT can see what's missing and what needs to be modified. Because once the closing is done, buyers, they don't care, they disappear. They're like, leave me alone, I'm not going to sign anything, and that's going to be too late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a situation like that. And the buyer was like a little bit reluctant to sign, and my agent was having issues not getting paid. So, yeah, don't do that.
And please understand, Gabby takes the brunt of this because we have our responsibilities divided. And on more than one occasion, our agent gets extremely upset, bothered. They start freaking out. And all of a sudden, they start pointing at everyone but themselves. It's up to you as the agent to make sure that these forms are filled out completely and signed. And there is backup. There's plenty of backup when it comes to compliance, but you have to send it ahead of time. You can't do it at the last minute and then it closes. Or, for example, you're turning in these forms the day of closing and you want to get paid at closing. It may not happen. It probably won't happen. You need to allow plenty of time for the compliance purpose so that, LPT wants nothing more than to have you guys paid immediately. We want you to get paid immediately, but you can't do that if you waited until the very last moment to submit everything for review.
Yeah, and these are like forms that the majority of these forms, especially the showing forms and all that, we have nothing to do with that. It's not LPT's fault. That is, Florida Realtors' decision, and they have to be implemented and here and any other company. So I just want to make that clear.
One last thing too, folks, I can't stress enough the importance of you participating in the training that LPT corporate provides. There's been a lot of changes to forms. More and more forms are constantly being introduced. In fact, the as-is contract changed. And I posted those changes the other day in the questions chat. And you have to stay on top of this because especially if you're not working real estate full time, and the last time you did a transaction was 6 months, 8 months, a year ago, and you're going in with that mindset of how the forms were back then, everything is changing because of all of these lawsuits, and plus when we started applying the new requirements, they found issues and they're having to correct those issues. And that's why revised forms are being offered. So please make it a point. This is your business to stay on top of this. At least I think it's once a month, LPT does a Florida only Zoom call where Natalie Cox and the other brokers are there talking about changes to the Florida forms. These are good for you to participate in. And if you've missed it, then go into LPT Connect 2.0 and go find the recordings of these so that you can play it back and get familiar with it.
So let me see, I have a question here. Okay. Okay, no. Perfect. So are we gonna be teaching doing like a highlights of the access contract, Mr. Martinez?
Hola, buenos días. Hola, Digna, ¿cómo estás?
Uy, creo que tengo
Okay.
una cosa ahí.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. What I always like to do, besides what I interpret the rules to be or the changes to be, I go
No,
ahead.
no he vendido, pero